Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So today I wanted to talk about where I'd like to see the Tekken story go into the future with the return of Heihachi Mishima. I've been asked this several times in my Discord and on Twitter, so I thought I'd give a detailed response here on YouTube for everybody to hear rather than replying to you guys individually. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're probably sitting there thinking to yourself, isn't this the guy that said story doesn't matter? And I am not the guy that said that. What I said was story isn't as important as gameplay, but not that it isn't important. And I also enjoy the stories a lot, but would I still play it if it didn't have one? Yeah, probably, but that doesn't mean that I don't like them. And it certainly doesn't mean they don't matter, but more that it's not an absolute deal breaker if they're not in the game, because the majority of my time spent on a fighting game is going to be fighting people, not discussing or worrying about the story. Of course the story matters. I wouldn't have taken a liking to so many characters from different games if not for the story. So just to clarify again, I've never said story doesn't matter. I said it doesn't matter as much. And I personally don't agree with the idea that the story has been hurt with the return of Heihachi Mishima in Tekken's regard. If you do, then that's your opinion. It's not for me to agree or disagree with. We just see it differently. Now, I'm going to tell you why I don't think Heihachi's return hurts the story, and this is where I would like to see the story go. And obviously there's multiple roads that the story can go down. There's infinite possibilities. This is just one that I would like to see. Now, I'll warn you guys, there's going to be some of you that don't like what I'm about to say, but you know I keep it 100, even if we agree or disagree, we always keep it respectful over here. We have those conversations, but I'm just letting you know, I know some of you ain't gonna like what I'm about to say. Before I get to the Mishimas, let's start with the side characters so that basically everyone that isn't a Mishima or directly involved in the Mishimas gets a little bit of a say. I do think Namco should pay some more attention to the supporting cast, like Paul or Law for example. For these two, I'd actually like them to go on a little Sasuke/Naruto retrieval arc type story, where Paul, finally tired of being considered a joke and never living up to his former greatness, decides to sever his bonds with martial law. In the dispute with martial law, you could have him severely injure Forrest, for example. Let's say the fight takes place at martial law's house and Paul severely injures him, which could act like the catalyst for Marshall going after him and trying to slap some sense into him, whilst also kicking his ass for hurting his son. Also, please revert Paul back to the Tekken 4 version. He looks darker and a ton more cooler. His hair is certainly better than what it is in Tekken 8. It's time to drop the goofy acts and move on. Law and Paul have been goofy for far too long. With Baek out of the picture and Jin kicking his ass again, I'd turn Horang to the criminal underworld. You're thinking, whoa, that took a dark turn. Where are you going with this? Hear me out. Think about it. Baek was always there keeping Horang out of trouble. In a lot of the endings we would see Horang getting into street fights, and since Baek isn't really around anymore, the realization setting in that Jin is on another level, he joins a mafia style group. It could kind of mirror that anger that Nishikiyama felt towards Kiryu in the Yakuza series. I know you guys are tired of me bringing up Yakuza. It's never gonna end. I'm so sorry. Have him become a crime boss, which could prompt Jin to try and help his former rival return from the dark path he's walking down. It's a nice change of position since Jin was always the one walking the dark path. Jin was the one with the devil. He no longer has that now, and now it's Horang that is walking down the dark path. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd have Feng Wei defeat Leroy this time around and beat him viciously. Leroy is really the first character we've seen test Feng Wei and beat him, so I think a little revenge is in order. Feng Wei is constantly seeking strength, and Leroy is a new obstacle for him. Have him attain even more power and overcome Leroy, eventually putting Leroy in the hospital. This could prompt Lei Wulong to go back on the hunt for Feng Wei and reignite the rivalry from Tekken 5. If they need story elements to justify why characters return, that is a perfect opportunity to bring Lei Wulong back into the fold. Now you get my point. I think the side characters should get more serious dark stories. Not all of them. I couldn't come up with anything for Lily and Asuka because their beef has been so silly since day one, and I honestly couldn't care if they remained comic relief. But maybe you guys have some suggestions. You can let me know in the comment section below. As for the Mishimas, the big point of contention, here's what I've got. All of the key Mishimas are now present in the story minus one, and that is Jinpachi Mishima. I'd resurrect him. Now yeah, I know what you're saying, but look, I'd like a fully animated fight between Heihachi, Kazuya, Jin, Reina, Jinpachi, and Lars. I'd have Lars and Jin on the same side, Reina and Heihachi on the same side, and because of the situation they're in, Kazuya and Jinpachi on the same side. But how did we even get here in the first first place? Why are they taking teams and why is everybody fighting? Why has Jinpachi come back from the dead and how has he come back from the dead? We actually saw Jinpachi dying on screen. He essentially turned into dust. He disappeared into the wind. So how is he alive? Well, Jinpachi was possessed by a demon. It's really unclear what this demon was, but when Jin defeated him, let's say that this demon didn't peacefully let Jinpachi pass to the other side. Let's say it latched onto Jinpachi's spirit, and let's just say that when the monks and Reina performed the resurrection ritual to bring Heihachi back to life, because that's assuming what they're doing, they accidentally bring Jinpachi back from the dead as well. Demonic entity in all, because I imagine Heihachi's soul is also not going to be going to heaven. I can imagine the place they're bringing Heihachi back from is hell. Maybe they were having a good old Mishima fight in hell, and whatever sucked Heihachi back to the living world also accidentally brought Jinpachi back with him too. Now I know guys, just relax, it's Tekken. We're not submitting this to Martin Scorsese, okay? Jinpachi's original mission was to vanquish the devil gene from the world. Having returned to the living world to see a new devil in the form of Reina, he now sets his sight on her to try and release her from the devil gene. This brings Heihachi into the story, who wants to use Reina's devil power for his own nefarious reasons. Jin and Lars just want to get rid of these fools and Kazuya wants his devil back. So why is Jinpachi teaming up with Kazuya? It's simple really. Heihachi tried to murder his father before, and seeing him return makes him believe that Jinpachi is going to be a thorn in his side, and also that he's going to try and take back the Mishima Zaibutsu, which was originally created by Jinpachi. He goes after him with the help of Reina. Kazuya, also being an enemy of Heihachi and someone Reina wants to kill, Kazuya and Jinpachi put their differences aside and team up. You can't tell here, I've been wanting to see a Mishima Battle Royale on screen for a very long time. All the while this fighting has caused Ancient Ogre to return. Why would this fighting cause him to return, you ask? Well, originally Paul defeated Ogre in battle but left a little early before Ogre turned into True Ogre. That's when Jin stepped in and killed him. After the battle, Heihachi actually gathered samples and fragments of Ogre to try and harness his power. Unfortunately for Heihachi, he failed. Well, let's just say that the Mishima Zaibutsu continued running tests on these samples in the background. Let's say that the gathering of all of the bloodline Mishimas and their fighting abilities awakens Ancient Ogre and prompts him to attack them as they're weakened. This is the new version of Ancient Ogre, the one that has been brought back to life by the Mishima Zaibutsu by way of the samples that Heihachi took from the fight with True Ogre. Now he does seek out the strongest fighters to absorb their abilities, and who's stronger than the Mishimas? In the chaos, Ancient Ogre topples all of them and absorbs the curse power from Jinpachi, inadvertently releasing him from it, and also Reina's devil gene. Now nobody in the Mishima bloodline has any added buffs, and there's a new common enemy. We move away from the Mishimas using the devil, we bring Ancient Ogre back into the fold in a legitimate manner because people want to see the character come back, and now it's no more devils, it's all fists, and there's a new enemy for everyone to focus on. We go from Mishima Battle Royale to Mishima Team Up, but just as they're about to attack Ancient Ogre, he duplicates himself about 100 times, let's say he duplicates himself multiple times. Let's not forget, he has absorbed cursed power and he has absorbed the devil gene, so he's got all new abilities. Let's say he duplicates himself. He then turns into True Ogre and he flies away. Obviously, now the Mishimas have to team up or they're all going to die. After doing so, they agree to put their differences aside, merge G Corporation and the Mishima Zaibutsu, and commit to taking down Ogre before he destroys everyone and everything. This would not only allow us to see shonen style comedy from the Mishimas because they're forced to be on the same page, but it allowed them all to enter a space they've never been in before, effectively creating a new, interesting and funny story whilst also remaining dark because you have Ancient Ogre flying around the world killing people, potentially killing off characters that we know and love as well. I personally think it would be great to see Lars ordering them around to take on different missions and seeing how they would interact with each other, similar to how Zoro and Sanji are, or Goku and Vegeta. I think it could create a new interesting dynamic, and it could serve as the catalyst for Tekken 9. You don't have to go right back into a Mishima feud. Now obviously at some point Ancient Ogre would be defeated by the Mishimas and they would go back to fighting, but it could be a very long road before we get there, and we can see a lot of different team ups, a lot of emotional conversations, maybe an actual conversation between Kazuya and Jin that doesn't result in a full-blown fight. Maybe we can see these characters take on new roles, and maybe we can be introduced to the other Mishima children around the world, because we know full well that Heihachi was out there pimping for a long time. So again, for all of you that think that I don't care about the story, that couldn't be further from the truth. I just have different priorities for fighting games. I still care about the stories, I still want things to be fun. Now I know a lot of you are going to be against resurrecting another Mishima, but this is just my opinion. I want to have a good time on Tekken, and this is my idea of a good time. All the Mishimas present, Ancient Ogre comes back stronger than ever. We take away all of their devil powers, all of their curse powers, so it's just straight martial arts going forward, and and they all have a common enemy that they need to work towards to defeat. Let me know what suggestions you guys have got in the comment section below. As always guys, have a good day, take care of yourselves, and peace.